But tonight we're having a lobster break, a relief from turkey.
So where do you get your lobster from? You've had lobster before. Where's your lobster come from?
Either Price Chopper or Hannaford. I got it in
Okay.
Price Chopper today because I was going to LabCorp, and they're right there. But if I have it from Hannaford here in West Hurley, it's $10 a pound. What the heck?
Well, they don't have them swimming around in West Hurley though. They're in a package someplace, I think.
No, they're in a box, which is how they come into.
Oh,
they come.
but they're not moving though, right?
Oh yeah, they're moving.
Oh,
Believe me.
really?
Yeah, just stick your hand in there. Take the Band-Aids off, the rubber bands off. Stick your hand, and you'll see how fast they move. My cats are impressed with their speed.
Son of, son of a gun. Well, the lobster always sounds good, and every now and then you have a glass of wine that looks good too. So,
Well,
but we had a very nice Thanksgiving, and we wound up. It was just my boyfriend and me, but we cooked a ton of food and gave it to people that we would have normally had Thanksgiving with. So we kind of connected that way. So we did, shared food. So
good.
Yeah, it was nice.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi, Arlene. Well, I'm having a white burgundy tonight with my lobster, but I decided to just hold off until the end of the meeting. I think my notes get
Good idea.
Hi, Julia. How are you?
Hi.
Adirondack seltzer.
We have a quorum, Julia.
Okay. I'm calling to order a regular meeting in the Woodstock Environmental Commission. It's Wednesday, December 2nd, 2020, and the time is 7:01. Members present are Alex, Arlene, Bob, David, Aaron is not here yet. Okay. Nick and myself. So we do have a quorum. Alex, were we expecting Tom Conrad or?
Here's Nick. Okay.
Yeah, and I know he got the links because he was sent them, I think 3 times because you guys sent them and then I didn't realize and I forwarded it. So
okay, all right.
Could be annoyed with us.
So Erin, we were just on Erin's previous meeting, so I'm sure she'll be here in a minute. So I guess Lauren is not joining us. As far Lauren, apparently not. Okay, that's fine. All right. Right, and Ken, not visible, but we do have Ken. Great. So our guests this evening are Laura and Ken. And hi, thanks. And I think that's it so far. I think we're expecting.
And Randolph.
Oh, okay.
Laura, Ken, and Randolph. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble getting on with the different audio and video, but I'm connected with you, but via audio.
Okay.
Well, there's Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah, David, I'm here as well, just so you know.
Great, great, wonderful. Okay.
Tom Conrad just joined us.
Excellent, thanks, Tom. Okay, so does everyone have a copy of the draft agenda for this evening? And if so, are there any changes you'd like to suggest? I have added the publicity issue to the annual summary of activities and the plans for 2021. So that's where we'll discuss that. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda? Someone?
I'll do it.
Okay, Arlene, thank you. Second?
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. The agenda is adopted. Has everyone had a chance to review David's latest draft of the minutes for the November 18th meeting? Any changes needed at this point? May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll approve it.
Thanks, Bob. Second? Come on. Okay, Arlene. All in favor? Aye. The minutes are approved. There's no correspondence.
Sorry, who moved to accept? I didn't see that.
I did.
Who? Arlene? But you seconded.
Oh, no. Robert did.
Oh, okay. Okay, great.
Okay. So
Thank
we
you.
don't have any correspondence. Any announcements anyone would like to make? Okay. We did have the 10 Church Road resolution as the first item, but I think we're going to unless, Erin, is there anything to say about that? Should we just?
No
Okay.
updates.
Okay, great. All right, well, let's move right on to community solar. So Tom, thank you for joining us. Did you have a few words you wanted to say, or just answer some questions, or how did we want to do this?
Tom, what you told me on the phone was really helpful. Oh, I think you're muted.
You're muted.
Yeah, I've known Tom for quite a while. Just to give a little, I think it was back 2017, Tom did a survey of all the community's solar installations in the area and published a report on that. And so he's been working on community solar since then. And so I think as a wealth of experience, he certainly is able to answer questions and explain anything that that might be unsure. I've worked with Tom over the last couple of years as part of our climate smart work, and he's very knowledgeable about this area, and so you should feel free to ask him questions, and maybe he could give us some introductory remarks.
Well, sorry, wait, so we spoke on the phone last week, maybe? And I did not really share too much of what you had told me, Tom, because I thought that you would be so much better able to explain it than I would as like a go-between. So I don't know if maybe you want to start just by explaining to everyone. You gave me a really good overview of the differences in the different community solar and community choice models, and I'm not sure that we all totally know that exactly.
Tom, you're on mute.
That's why people keep on talking when I start talking.
Much better.
Yeah. So yeah, I was thinking of doing what Alex said, which is just sort of give an overview what exactly community solar is and the difference between that and community choice aggregation and so forth. So because there are actually two separate things. So what I believe started this conversation was you got reached out to by Solstice Community Solar.
Right.
And someone forwarded me that email, and that email was asking you, I believe, to adopt community solar for the town of Woodstock's own use for your businesses. That particular thing would be redundant for Woodstock. Community solar, the way it works is a solar operator gets paid for the electricity they produce by Central Hudson with bill credits that can be used on any Central Hudson bill. But the community solar operator doesn't have a Central Hudson bill, so they're not useful to them. So they have to find subscribers who will take those credits, use them on their own bills, and in return for a payment to the solar operator. That payment's usually 90% of the value of the credit, so that everybody wins. The community solar operator gets money, which they wouldn't get otherwise. The subscribers get a small savings on their electric bill. The town of Woodstock already has a similar arrangement with a hydro operator, a small hydro operator, which works almost exactly the same way. The town of Woodstock gets credits on your bill and pays the hydro operator, Natural Power Group, for those credits. The only difference between community solar and what you currently have with the hydro operator is that Central Hudson doesn't want the ability to claim that they are using hydropower for regulatory reasons. So when a community solar operator sells their power to Central Hudson, they actually also sell the right to claim that the power being used is solar. They generate solar power and they say also get this right. Central Hudson needs that because to comply with mandates on the utilities, they have to get a certain amount of their electricity from renewables. But the New York State definition of renewables for that compliance does not include small old hydro, which is where you have the contract, so that they still have that ability to claim you're using hydropower, which they can give to Woodstock. So in terms of that simple letter, there is absolutely no reason why Woodstock would want to say yes to that. Because you already basically have the same arrangement, and you get this right to say that you're using hydropower as well, which you do not get from community solar. Now, there are several similar things that you might consider doing, which are relevant to this conversation. When I first talked to Alex, I was, I don't know, do I have sharing permission? I want to show you something. Looks like I do. Okay. So this is a screen from Solstice's website. Solstice does have a program, which I think is a very good one, where the town can partner with them and help sign up people in the town for community solar. Currently, we're just talking about the town's own electricity usage, and it's a good deal. You're getting savings on your bill at no upfront cost.
Oh, excuse me, Tom, that's what they offered to the residents. They know that the
Okay, they do know
town
that.
is
Okay.
taking care
Okay.
of. So,
Well, good. Well, then that's a good thing.
Okay.
I generally think this is a good program. The residents get savings. They do not get solar power, but they are helping community solar farms get built, because unless the solar farms get subscribers, they don't get paid. So the easier it is for them to get subscribers, the more solar farms will get built. So this is what they offered. Okay, I was a little confused, but I think this is a good program. If the town partners, the town sort of says, okay, yeah, we've looked through this. We think this is a good deal for our residents and we should do it. And the town also gets a $100 incentive per sign up, which can add up pretty rapidly to real money. The town of Marbletown did this last year, and we got a little over $6,000, which we used to expand our rail trail. And then later this year, we did it again, got some more signups, and I got about $3,000 for the Roundup Valley Food Bank. So it's worth, it's definitely a win-win-win. The $100 that Solstice is offering is a good incentive. It's better than actually what Marbletown had when we did the same thing. We were doing it at $50 a piece. And Solstice is a reputable company, in my opinion. Okay, so I think this is a good option. So the one other thing I explained to Alex, and I think is worth explaining, is then there's also community choice aggregation, which can get confused with community solar. That's something else that Marbletown is doing. Community choice aggregation is purchasing green electricity, or actually brown is potentially, as a group for your residents who are on the default power supply. The reason you might want to do this is it is much cheaper than having the residents go out and try to negotiate their own green power contracts. It sometimes can be cheaper than just doing the default power supply from Central Hudson. In this last year, it has not been, because the default power supply has been extremely cheap because power demand dropped due to COVID. However, if we had a cold winter and natural gas became expensive, there would be spiking electric bills in the spring, and then the fixed cost would be an advantage. So that's something that we have done. Woodstock has looked at this in the past and decided not to, but I think it's worth considering. And one other reason is that with the community solar negotiator group, Jewel Community Energy, that Marbletown works with, they currently have permission to sign up people for community solar, like we were just talking about, by default. So what we're talking about with Solstice now is people have to actively go and sign up. And the reason the town gets like $100 every time you get someone to sign up is because it's hard. It's a sort of a complex thing. You have to explain it to people. And even though it's a win-win-win, people are just reluctant to sign up. Coming, we expect in March, Central Hudson will have upgraded their system so that they are able to consolidate the two bills. The bill from the community solar provider, where you're paying for your credits, and the electric bill where you get the credits. This makes it much simpler, and it enables, if someone signed up for default and isn't paying attention, the only bill they're paying is still their electric bill. If you sign someone up for default without that combined bill thing, people would start getting this new bill that they didn't recognize and no one would pay it. So it just, while it's actually legal to do it, it wouldn't work in practice. But as soon as we can get consolidated billing, we can just start signing people up for by default. Now, the only way I know to sign people up by default is to work with a community choice aggregation. I don't
that's
know.
the opt-out, right?
Yeah, the opt-out.
Yeah.
So we're currently, Marbletown, New Paltz, and several other towns are currently just doing opt-out for buying green electricity. But coming early next year, fairly early next year, we will also start be doing opt-out for community solar. And opt-out for community solar is an unabashedly good thing. It gets rid of a lot of the sales process and the long, complicated explaining that you have to do to get people to sign up for community solar, but you're not causing them any harm. You're doing a net benefit to them. You're saving them money.
What is opt-out?
They can opt out. We will sign people up to, okay, you're going to save $5 on your electric bill every month. And if you would like to opt out, you can choose not to save $5 on your electric bill every month. I mean, that's the way it'll be done. They'll get a letter. I can't, I would be shocked if very many people opt out of that. But, you know, some people just opt out because they're confused.
So Erin, the way it works now with the community solar is that by default, you don't have it and you have to opt in. So this would mean that by default, everyone got it and they would have to opt out if they didn't want it, which they can.
Yeah.
So again, if I can ask though, so I'm not really understanding this. So the community choice aggregate, as Erin, Ashley said, right, you're in it and you have to opt out if you want to be out of it. But how do you get in it? You say your town is making
the town opts in. So the town passes a law that allows them to join a community choice aggregation.
Okay.
And then the town, so it's two-stage process. First, your board has to pass a law giving themselves the right to join a community choice aggregation. Mm-hmm. Then you sign a contract with one of the three managers of community choice aggregations, Jewel, Mega, and I'm trying to remember the name of the third one. One of those.
The other one's called Good Energies, Tom.
Oh, Good Energies. Thanks. And then what happens is that Good Energies or Jewel or whoever goes out to energy providers and say, we have this many people who will be opted in. What can you give us? And the towns look at those offers and they pick an offer or they don't. They can at that point choose to opt out. They can say, God, all these offers are horrible. We're not interested. So Woodstock could join one until they see the offers. And then at that point, you have the option of not taking the offer.
But if you do community choice solar, people who opt in, I understand you're saying that people have to opt into that. Anybody who opts into that, they're getting, I think, the 10% discount. So you're saying with community choice aggregate, depending on the offer, people might get a better rate or they might get a worse rate.
Okay.
I mean,
These two things happen in parallel. So the community choice aggregation is like buying power from an ESCO. You know, when you go to Central Hudson sites and say, I want a different energy provider.
mm-hmm.
So, and when you do that, you might get a better rate or a worse rate.
Mm-hmm.
However, Joule has permission to, on top of that, that's the standard thing that a community choice aggregator does. They also have permission to set up this thing where they can do community solar as an opt-out. So you may be paying more or less for your electricity, but if you then add the community solar on top, you'll be getting a discount on what you're paying more or less on. So there's sort of two layers of what's going on there.
Well, it seems like with community solar, you know what you're getting.
Yes.
You're getting a 10% discount. Or with community choice aggregate, and with community solar, everybody gets a choice because they only get it if they opt in. So they don't get it by mistake without realizing it, because they had to opt in to get it. And this aggregate sounds like, it just sounds like a little more magic and mirrors to me, but maybe I'm not understanding it.
The community choice aggregation so community solar currently is opt-in. The community choice aggregation can allow it to become opt-out, so people do get it by mistake.
Right.
But however, this is a mistake we want them to make because it saves them money.
And get some green energy.
No. Remember what I said at the start of this talk, it actually isn't green energy. The right to claim that you're using solar power goes to Central Hudson and actually goes into their general pool.
But so what, Tom? What does that matter that we can't say we're getting solar? What energy are we getting if we go to Solstice? First of all, energy is like wheat out in the Midwest. Right. It's fungible. It doesn't. It's just all a big bundle of electrons. So
right.
Of course, you can. I have a solar array in my backyard. I can't say I'm getting solar or electricity because one day they may decide to give me coal energy, and my solar energy goes up into the grid. So
right. Well, no, you're explaining a real conundrum, and because of this conundrum, we all are using the same electricity in an engineering sense of the word. To solve that conundrum, we changed the regulations to say, I should stop sharing my screen.
Yeah, please.
To say that to solve that conundrum, we came up with this legal fiction. When renewable energy is generated, we split it into two things legally. We split it into power, which turns on your light bulbs. And that power is legally the exact same as power that comes from a gas plant or a coal plant, plus the right to say that you are using a certain amount of renewable energy. So it's legally split into two things. And so people who are claiming that they are using renewable electricity all the time have basically purchased one way or another the right to say they're using electricity, green electricity in the amount of the electricity they're using.
And what do they, I mean, I understood from discussions we've had in the past that one of the benefits of getting the right to claim you're producing renewable electricity is a tax benefit. And in fact, that I was told that in the past, there were people who came to the town and proposed putting up an array for the town, which the town would use, and we would save money. We would get a discount off the then current Central Hudson rate. And the person who was planning to put up, who was initially proposing to put up the array, said, we don't care if we lose money on the electricity. We're making money on the tax benefits. We're getting a huge write-off on our other profits, the profits of our other businesses. So we get rich people to come in and finance the thing. They write off the amount of their profits with the losses they get from solar energy, and it comes out being a profit for them when you throw in the taxes, which of course always need to get thrown in, don't they?
No, okay, so the tax benefits of using solar have changed over time, but more importantly to this particular discussion is that the tax benefits have nothing to do with the person who's using the electricity. They have to do with the person who built the electricity generation.
At this point, can I just make an observation that we're here at the Woodstock Environmental Commission, and so I'd like to focus the discussion on the environmental benefits rather than the tax and financial benefits of these programs, if we can, please.
Okay. So on the environmental benefit, the more people we sign up for community solar, the more community solar farms get built, because that's how community solar farm operators get paid. That's the bottom line on the environmental benefits of community solar. There is no ability to claim that you're using green electricity attached to community solar, but you're still helping them.
Yeah, so some follow-up questions here. Are there any kind of regulations on these solar farm companies on where and how they can build their solar arrays?
Yes,
I mean, for instance, there is some choices could lead to a negative environmental impact for the solar array, let's say on pasture or farmland. And so there's a negative impact associated with the mere provisioning of the solar arrays in the first place. And so there's not all solar, from an environmental perspective, in my opinion, basically, not all solar arrays are equal. Some have a much larger environmental impact than others, depending on the choice that's made of the land that the solar array is built on. So it's, I mean, is there any kind of regulation there around what and where these companies can build on?
There are regulations. I mean, I'm sure that it's called zoning codes. Zoning codes reflect that. I think there are many people who would argue that there may not be enough regulation on it, but yeah, the zoning codes control that. And certainly Woodstock can control that within Woodstock, although unless it's on state land, like we saw in Wawarsing recently.
But none of these solar panels would be even in Woodstock.
Potentially they might be. I mean, again, depends. The ones that we were currently talking about with Solstice won't, because they already have a farm where they're trying to sell subscriptions.
Okay.
Well, it would depend if we find a community solar company that's prepared to build a solar array within the town.
Right. I mean,
I'm not kind of aware of any part of the town where one could be accommodated. I mean, perhaps there are a few small car parks and things like that, but nothing of the kind of acreage that would be required to make a significant impact.
Right, but if you sign up people in Woodstock for community solar, you will make it easier for community solar farms to be built in Marbletown, which still benefits the climate.
Tom, when we spoke, you sort of explained to me that you guys were thinking about like this third option, kind of, where some people could choose the opt-in model and they would save more essentially for like actively doing something, and that other people could just default get put into the community choice model and they would save a little bit less but still be in it, and then obviously you could get out of it.
Yep. I'm sorry to interrupt, but aren't we reverting back to the financial benefits rather than the environmental?
Well, unfortunately, they're somewhat linked, because if no one is going to save money and they don't want to do it, there aren't going to be any environmental benefits.
I think people would be motivated purely by the benefits to the environment.
Then you should come to my store and spend a day there and see how motivating of a factor that is in people's decision making.
Yeah.
Aside from me,
but what Tom explained to me, and like I said, he'll do it way better than I do, was an interesting way of getting the most people signed up,
right?
While still getting some financial benefits for the town potentially, and for some of the people who wanted to take action, while getting, with community solar, when people opt in, only about 4% of people do it. But when people get put in, only about 4% maybe of people opt out. So you're talking about 96% of people now using solar, which is a lot more of a benefit.
So to try to square the circle on these two things. So the environmental question for the WEC is, do you want more people signing up for community solar and thereby encouraging more community solar farms? I expect you will reach the conclusion that the answer to that is yes. But that's for you to discuss between yourselves. But let's assume that you reach the conclusion that the answer is yes. Given, I mean, all forms of energy have some downsides. And there are good solar and bad solar places, but I think on the average, they're good. But assuming the goal is as many people signed up for community solar as possible, then what Alex is saying, the solstice thing that you were offered is the opt-in model. And you want to do that as much as you can because, one, it gets a big financial benefit for the town and for the people who sign up. Two, the community choice aggregation model isn't available yet. And three, when you go through the community choice aggregation model, in my discussions with Jewel, they have said they don't expect to actually get enough bill credits to give everyone a full 10% discount on their bills, because they have a large number of people who have been opted in, and they will be signing up community solar bill credits. So basically you will be opting people in to saving maybe 4 or 5% on their electricity bill, but the people who signed up actively will save almost nearly that 10%. So I mean, so you sort of, when it comes to the community solar, you have a couple choices. Do you want this deal with Solstice? I think it's a good deal. I think it gets some good money for the town, which you could use for an environmental project, or you could, do a strip mine if you wanted to, but you can get some benefit for an environmental project just from the money. I'm sure there are things you would like the town to do that are good for the environment.
But that's assuming we'd have control over the money, and I seriously doubt that. That's unfortunate.
Yes, well, having a board that actually listens to you is another issue altogether.
I'm on the board, so I'm here to listen.
Yeah, but I mean, I personally think that you could tell the board, hey, if you want the WEC to do the work of bringing this money in, we want to have a say on what the money is used for. And the other thing is, when I have experience doing these campaigns last year, and one of the things that really gets people to sign up is telling them what that money is going to be used for. We got people really excited about this new trail we had to connect Stone Ridge to Ulster Community College campus. And people signed up just because they wanted that trail. They didn't care about the 10%. It's not that much money. They cared that it wasn't costing them anything, and they were more likely to have that trail. Right. And so when you decide to do this deal with Solstice, if you choose that project well, for something that's environmental and has a lot of community support, you'll sell more subscriptions, and that's how you persuade the board to use the money for what you want to use it for. I think I've lost my train of thought. And then after you've done that, I think it's still worthwhile to sign up everybody else by default through the CCCA.
So, Tom, I have two questions which may trigger your train of thought. Question number one is, I have a green ESCO, for which I'm paying a premium over Central Hudson rates. Yeah. And I don't know who else on this call is paying a premium over Central Hudson rates, just to do a little bit of benefit for the environment. But that's not the point. My green ESCO has consolidated billing. So I just get one bill from Central Hudson, right? And they tell me how much I'm paying the green ESCO, and they tell me how much they're charging me for the transmission, which is going to lead me to my second question. So is the reason that which one is it that thinks they're going to have consolidated billing?
Community choice aggregation.
Is the reason there is no consolidated billing something that is in the mind of the Public Service Commission and beyond your knowledge, or do you have any idea what's going on?
I know that. So the utilities didn't want consolidated billing for community solar, and they fought it for a long time. They lost that battle. They were ordered to make it happen, and that is currently being implemented. Central Hudson's basically been dragging their feet, but it looks like they'll finally have implemented it, the consolidated billing.
Okay. Second question is, the Solstice told us that the savings would be 10% of the entire bill, which is which, as you know, is made up of like about 20 different components. One chunk of which is for the generation of energy, and one chunk of which is for the transmission of energy. And I'm flummoxed by the idea that they're going to cut 10% off the transmission charge as well as the generation charge. Is that just because they're really giving us a greater discount off the generation charge and wrapping all up and saying it's 10% off the whole bill?
No, that's because what they're doing is that they're not selling you electricity. They are selling you bill credits, and those bill credits can be applied to every part of the bill. They're selling you those bill credits at a 10% discount. They don't always
explain the gift card analogy that you explained to me.
Yeah. So when you sign up for a subscription with Solstice, they basically are giving you gift cards that can be used to pay your Central Hudson bill. You're buying these gift cards at $90 for a $100 gift card. You put that on your bill. They give you a number of gift cards that they estimate will be equal to your annual usage. So you actually often don't save a full 10% on your entire bill, because you only get, like, say, if you have a $100 bill, you only get $90 of gift cards, and you pay Solstice $81 for your $90 of gift cards, plus you have to pay Central Hudson the $10 left. So it's usually up to 10%. It's not a full 10% because you don't hit the whole bill, but that's how they do both types. And I think I've answered that question. It looks like Aaron has a question.
I can't find the raise hand button. This may seem like a silly question, but I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. So if I were to sign up with Solstice, the actual energy that comes into my house is not going to be generated from the sun?
The actual energy that comes into your house will not change.
It's not, I'm not actually getting solar. All I'm getting is that, quote, gift card or bill credit.
That's what you get from Solstice. I mean, you're already getting some solar. Your neighbor has solar on his house, and when the sun's up, and so you're getting solar in that sense. But yeah, the actual energy that's powering your stuff is always going to be the same. It's a function of the physical construction of the grid, where the generators are, where the loads are, etc. There is this also this right to say you're using renewable electricity, and that is what we trade around when we say we're using solar power, etc.
But the point is that by increasing the demand for solar energy, which you do when you sign up for get energy from Solstice, that you increase the production of solar energy. So the electrons that are coming into your house, Aaron, are right now maybe 13% solar, and maybe they'd go up to 14 or 15% solar if enough people signed up. But the electrons are fungible goods. It doesn't matter. You can't control where they come from. You may be getting coal. You could be getting 100% coal energy in your house, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Right. That's my point. So this really is back to, this really is monetary, which I understand for the greater good.
No, because the more people who sign up for solar, the more solar is in the system. So you might not get it, but there's a bigger percentage in the soup.
Yeah.
Julia?
You're sort of forcing some other person to get more solar.
Who's getting all the solar? That's what I want to know. Where is it going? But I know, don't answer that. I understand.
Wait, Alex, there's practically none of it. The total solar impact is about 1%. All the solar farms that will ever be built in the state of New York may bump that up to 1.2 or 1.3%. Full stop. That's the end of the story. All right? If you want to know what's going on, Tom is a nice guy. He's told you the way things are right now. Don't fantasize that creating minuscule demand, in this case for Solstice, for a small community solar farm built somewhere else in New York on somebody's pasture, that's what we were told, is somehow going to be the avatar or the progenitor for a wave of community solar projects. The community solar contribution will never amount to more than a tiny fraction of 1%. Those are the facts on the ground, okay?
Yeah, we're just here to ask questions and understand it better. I'm sorry if I offended you. That's not my intention.
No, you didn't offend me. I'm a guest.
I want to understand it.
I've spent the last 7 years in proceedings at the Public Service Commission, and there is an iron ceiling on the amount of the ratepayers' funds, that's money taken from our electric bill, which will be applied, in essence, to juicing a little bit of community solar, okay? It takes a whole tutorial to explain this. Tom has quite honestly told you the way things are right now. The only confusion is whether or not confusing the residents of Woodstock, which may beguile 50 or 100 or 150 of them, to join up to something that won't make an environmental difference, period, whether that gets in the way of Woodstock's dreaming ahead to the magnificent clean energy revolution, which will be led by the Biden administration and followed up on by the state of New York.
Okay,
and
I'm sorry.
that involves.
I got to the meeting a little late. Who is this talking?
This is Randolph Horner. I've been in this business for 50 years, long before there was a solar. And okay. I'm the guy who is responsible for getting the first grants to put municipal solar up in Woodstock, New York. Got us in the New York Times, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
And on the court, on the town court building? Town hall?
That one we put on in 2005. It was in the first wave. It was in the first wave. If you read the article about Woodstock declares a commitment to net zero, it's got Uncle Randolph standing up there on top of the roof. So
okay.
What I'm sharing with you is Tom is an honest man, and he's telling you the limitations of these approaches to finance and opting in for what is a token amount of solar generation, and to tie Woodstock to a program like that, which is functionally obsolete and will not make a difference that is even measurable across the state of New York or across central Hudson or across the Hudson Valley. To tie Woodstock to that obsolete approach is to distract Woodstockers from actually fulfilling the commitments we made in 2007 about taking our community to net zero.
Well, so Randolph, I hear you. I'm not sure if I'm told, anyway, so my question to
Laura,
you,
I'm not seeing you, but I recognize your voice, Laura.
Yes, thank you. And I recognize your voice too. So, so when you say that this is like when Biden gets into office, we're going to have a whole new answer, but the answer is there's only a choice of a certain things, right? You got wind, you got solar. What is the great answer that you think is going to come in that's going to make solar obsolete?
The amount of utility scale solar that is firm and dispatchable. Now, Tom knows what those terms mean. Just think of it as the equivalent of natural gas generators running. The amount of solar produced electricity that's firm and dispatchable at utility scale, at transmission voltage, will be built on brownfields and wastelands, not pastures, open space, farmland, which is where all of these projects are going today. And Mr. Fode asked exactly the right question, and we've already been told by the lady from Solstice that the farm they're selling subscriptions on right now is relatively small, perhaps 2 megawatts, perhaps 4 megawatts in toto on pasture land. And it is a trivial distraction.
But isn't getting rid of all those cows grazing a net benefit?
No, wait a minute. We're talking about, we were told there was a farm. Are you saying that because the cows are not eating grass and emitting methane when they crepitate, that there's some kind of environmental trade-off?
Yeah, I'm saying we should all be vegans.
I'm sure we all should be vegans, but what we're talking about right now
all the pasture lands and the cows.
Well, I don't think coercing Woodstock to be vegan is going to work any better than coercing Woodstock into this power scheme, which I don't think is going to work.
I think, well, I agree that with Randall's facts, I disagree with his conclusion. I agree that what Woodstock is potentially doing with community solar, helping Solstice, is trivial on the New York scale. However, there are effects which are movement in the correct direction. Solstice is a developer of solar farms.
They're not a developer. They're only a marketer, Tom.
A marketer. Fine, whatever.
They're a marketer. They're an unnecessary. They're an unnecessary middleman. We'll be getting utility scale solar delivered over Central Hudson's facilities, and we won't have to deal with.
Will you let Tom finish? Actually,
again,
will you mute the Randolph line, please, so Tom can finish his presentation?
I won't waste any more time on this call if you're going to put me down. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, we're going to put you down.
No.
I think Randolph, it's just difficult. We're the environmental commission, and we're trying to learn. That's what we do. We do the deep dive into the research, and we're trying to listen to Tom's presentation. You're kind of steering the conversation. So I think what we're trying to say is, could you just let Tom go, and then we'll make our own decision based on, the presentation presented. Thank you.
If I'm still unmuted, I did not mean to be rude. I was trying to correct a gross misconception being promulgated on this call.
Cut it down. We want to hear from Tom, not from you.
But Tom doesn't know anything about utility solar.
We don't want to hear from you, Randolph.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
Randolph, so I actually agree with Randolph's point that this is a fairly trivial thing in terms of the size. I mean, that as far as I can tell, this is a fairly trivial. But the question is, it does point in the right direction. And the bigger part of potentially working with Solstice here is that $100 per sign up, which you could direct towards something worthwhile in Woodstock. There's savings for Woodstock residents. There is $100 per sign up for Woodstock, which if you set it up right, you can use towards a project you want Woodstock to complete. And we're talking several $1,000s. The downside is it's work for you guys. I mean, that's really, whether or not this is accomplishing the large goal of it's small. Everything we do is small. That is not an excuse not to do it, as long as it's pushing in the right direction.
And Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, but the way you explained it to me, even with your community choice contract that you guys have, which is more of a contract, I think the idea of anyone being tied in is potentially misleading, right? Like, I mean, we just kind of change it. You were saying you guys are renegotiating.
Right. All of these things can be opted out of without any. So community solar, all the contracts, Solstice's contract, etc., you just tell them and you can end your contract, whether or not you got opted in or not, at any point, at no fee. I mean, there are some contracts that aren't that, but Solstice's is not. It's the standard contract with community solar is anyone can leave anytime. With the CCA, community choice aggregation, the residents can opt out at any time. They don't have the chance. They can opt out at the start, but then they can also opt out ongoing. And then every 2 years, the town has a contract. Our contract lasts for 2 years. It's going to come up it's going to end in July, and we are going to go out and look for a new contract for renewable energy supply for the next 2, 3, or 4 years. We'll see what's on offer, and depending on the prices, etc., in conjunction with the other towns that we're working with, we will make that decision. And we potentially, Marbletown could potentially leave the whole community choice aggregation at that point if we chose. If Woodstock wanted to join, I think that's a very good opportunity when Woodstock might want to join right as a new contract's being negotiated. You come in, you get your board to give itself the authority to join a CCA. You sign a contract with Jewel saying, yes, you're interested. I want to be part of this negotiation. You see what the result of the bidding process is, and you say, at that point, decide, do I want to opt my citizens in or not? That's a fair amount of work for you. You have to persuade the board to pass the enabling law and to sign the contract with Jewel. But at every step of that point, the argument with the board is, you know, we're not signing up for anything that we can't back out of. We get to see everything before we actually are forcing our citizens to do anything.
So conceivably, if we did want to do either of these things, and then in 2 years' time, the least exciting president ever, Joe Biden, has miraculously built us universal scale solar power, we could just say bye, right? I mean, like,
yeah, none of this is permanent.
What I'm asking is, like, this is just one step of many steps that doesn't lock anyone into anything, right?
No, not as far as I know. I mean, hopefully it produces savings, you know, and with the community solar, I mean, I think that I actually think the money's the most important part, because I want to see where the money goes. With the community choice aggregation, yeah, it locks the town in for a couple of years after you've seen everything, but then you're out. Erin has her hand up, I think.
Thanks. Yeah, I have to say, so I'm starting to think about it more and more. With the money, does seem like maybe we could do something with it. So my question is, I just wanted to, you had mentioned when you did this through Marbletown, you were only getting $50. Is that?
Yeah, $50 per sign up.
You made approximately 6,000. I won't hold you to these numbers.
We made we made 6,000, then we did it again and made 3,000. So 9,000 total.
So just approximately how many people are in your town?
Our town is 5,500. We have, but it's actually the number of meters that matters. We have 2,800 meters.
Okay, so it's the same size town, it's comparable to Woodstock. Interesting. Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
You got 90 people signed up, was it, or 180?
What is it? 9,000 divided by 50.
4,000.
Yeah, so 180 people signed up.
Yeah. Sounds like that's.
But you know, that's real money.
Just over 10%.
Yeah.
By the sound of it.
We were, Jewel did this with several towns in the community choice aggregation, and we were the most successful on a percentage basis.
Why do you think you were so successful?
Because we have a very active environmental commission.
And what did your outreach look like, Tom?
Well, my outreach, I don't know if you're familiar with my 10 steps to 100% renewable energy. Most of my outreach was that, which is, it's part of a bigger scheme where I have a pledge campaign where I've developed a fairly simple system where individuals can plan to transition themselves to 100% renewable energy at little or no upfront cost if they plan it right. And the first step is signing up for community solar, because it costs nothing and it produces some money for those other steps.
And sorry, this is a stupid follow-up, but just because we're also talking about talking to the public later on tonight, like, how physically did you communicate that? Were you sending, did you email the town? Was it in the paper? Like, how were you telling them that this was happening?
Okay, actually, I have to change the other part of the thing. So Jewel also did a lot of the outreach, and Jewel sent physical letters in the mail from our supervisor. They paid for it. We wrote the letters, but the supervisor signed them, and the return address was our supervisor, telling them about this. And that's very useful. If the letter comes from the town and the supervisor, that level of, and this is why Solstice wants to partner with you, that level of stamp of approval really helps them keep people from ignoring it, because there's so many people trying to get their attention to sell them something or other, and it sounds like a scam. You're going to save 10% on your electric bill. And so having the town itself behind it really helps the sale, and that's why Solstice wants to partner with you.
So you said you had a 10-step plan.
Yeah, I have a 10-step. Yeah, that's a whole other perspective. But yeah, I have a 10-step system for individuals and businesses to get to 100% renewable energy.
Would you be willing to share that with Alex so that she could share it with us, or?
Yeah, well, I can. I mean, there's a presentation, there's a pledge I can share around the pledge, and there's a whole it's there's resources. I mean, it's really complex, but I can certainly invite.
Attention span, Tom.
Yeah, exactly. There's how much time we have, but I can show the pledge, which is sort of the simplest thing. Let's see if I can get that up.
I think
well, I'll just send the link. I think you guys have other things you want to talk about tonight.
Yeah, that would be for another
We
discussion.
would invite you back, Tom, if you'd be kind enough to come back.
I'm just talking about the fact that, you know, this is a small part of it. I'm curious to see the more. I'm curious to see what would be for 100% green, because this is not it.
No. This is step 1 of 10, and it's actually not the biggest step.
Yeah.
It's but it's the easiest step. It's this sort of step in the pledge part of this. Part of the pledge is I will sign up for this if I don't have home solar, because I'm like, why would anyone not do this? Is really, you know, the people can argue it's not doing any good. Well, for the environment, but it's saving you money, and that money can be used for something good.
And Tom, do you find that the people who took the first step were more likely to continue and do the next? Not like, was that gateway step important, do you find, or did it not seem to matter?
I don't know. People were excited about my 10-step steps. The thing I always try to get through here is that this doesn't have to cost you money. You don't have to be rich to do this. And that's the thing that I think gets people excited. The community solar part is just one piece of evidence for that. Oh, look, here's something that's actually going in the right direction and saving me money.
I'd invite you to send us your presentation. Send it to Julia, the chair of the commission, and she can spread it around to everyone. Or if you don't have her email address, Alex, I'm sure would be glad to do that. I'm just volunteering her, so I know she'd be glad. You know, so that would be great. I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, I will send you the links.
That's great. Tom, thank you so much. You've been terrific and really very generous to give us your time. Really appreciate it.
It was my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tom.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So Laura, a question for you. Do you know what is in our supervisor's mind in terms of how the $100 per person would be used?
I do not.
Okay.
I do not know whether it would just be money that goes in, you know, flows in and then just helps the expenses, or whether there would be a specific project. It's a good question. I mean, I can ask whether he has, because that's a nice thought, that if we had a certain goal that this would go to, that is a nice thought, that could be a motivator.
Well, if we sign up with Solstice, we will be doing the work. And unless we have some incentives or we have something to make it easier for us, it's going to be a lot of work. And why would we want to take it on if it's just, you know, if we don't get some cooperation from the town, I think.
Well, I think that I don't know why you think you wouldn't get cooperation from the town.
Sure.
But if you had an idea, if you as the WEC have an idea of what the money could get used for, maybe you do have an idea of, hey, you know, people are going to be green, and look, we're going to be even greener because. So I'm open to, if you want to give me ideas to take to Bill. He hasn't mentioned anything to me about an idea he already has for how to spend it. But if you do have an idea, I'm happy to take it to Bill. Okay. And I would certainly
think we'll be that much greener.
What's that?
I mean, I'm just going to repeat what Nick has said. Sorry, Aaron, I didn't mean to cut in on you, but to me, this is strictly a financial deal. I mean, a good financial deal. And as Julia said, a lot of it depends on where the money would go. But I don't see it as being a particularly green deal. I think it may mislead some people. That's all.
Aaron, what's your question?
I just want to say that, yeah, I kind of piggyback on what Robert said, I think the only benefit from this for the WEC would be if we could somehow, maybe through the way of a resolution, say to the town, the WEC recommends this as so long as the funds are then used for, and we actually, you know, say something that's something, our initiative, whether it's a planting trees or, you know, something we're working on for next year. And that's the only way we do it. And if not, then we don't have anything to do with it. When I watched the town board meeting where this came up on the 17th on YouTube, which everyone can watch, it looked to me like the town was liking it. Bill particularly was like ready. I mean, my personal opinion is they were ready to sign a line. And then Richard said, hey, let's have the WEC look at this. So I don't think there would
Bill
be,
said that, but anyway, yeah, right.
yeah, I don't think there'd be much of a challenge getting them on board, but I think
No, I mean, they were pushing us to,
yes.
yeah.
Yes,
I mean, it seems, I agree with all of you, like with Bob, what you said, and sort of what Tom communicated was really important, which is that they have been able to communicate that these are like steps to a greater goal, as opposed to saying that this is the end of the goal. And I wonder if there's a way that we could put some sort of like caveat on agreeing, you know, wanting to do this by saying our end goal is X, Y, Z, and these are like the 5 or 6 or 7 steps that we want to take to get there, but not saying yes to one of them without having the whole package in mind.
Yeah, I'm going to say at this point, basically, I'm not against community solar. I think there are environmental benefits to the programs here in terms of encouraging the use of solar, as opposed to, because every single person who signs on for this is really contributing to a reduction in the use of gas for generating electricity when it boils down to it. And so there is a tangible benefit for doing this. I think the community solar companies can be rather misleading in the way that they're marketing this, but that doesn't alter the fact that there is a benefit for doing it overall. And so I just wanted to point out I'm not really against this as such. And so I think there is there's a good benefit there, really. And I have some ideas for how we could use the money as well. Basically, I mean, we've talked about some programs to revamp and republicize the Green Guide, and the kind of programs that have been put into place in the past have required money. And so if we could you know, get some of the benefits of the community solar to actually put together towards some of these you know, tangible programs that we have, and I think that would be a benefit as well.
And do we want to look and see if there's another community solar provider?
Yeah, that's kind of my other point, basically, because I think we should be selective around this, really. I mean, it seems like Solstice is building on pasture land, and
Yes.
if there are other companies out there that aren't doing that, they're building their solar arrays on in a much more environmentally friendly way. And I'm not talking about, you know, the climate here. I'm talking about the environment overall. Then perhaps we could make a better selection of a company to partner with.
Nick, can you commit to doing some research in that regard?
I can have a go.
Thank you. That'd be great.
Their deal. So, I mean, we might be able to show it to other people and see if they're willing to match, you know,
Yeah,
similar benefits.
that's what I was wondering, if we could somehow negotiate, maybe give people 11% instead of 10 or
Well, that's what
something.
David's point was recently.
Well, I think getting 8% from a solar array that's environmentally friendly would be better than getting 10% from a solar array that's not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But honestly, can I just say, you know, when they talk about farmland and pasture land, it's not always cows. It's sometimes viable land that could be used for farming, vegetables, and other needs.
Sure.
And the farmer's looking at it as, I'm making a regular salary, I don't have to work, I'm getting this salary by giving this to solar. And I just feel like we should look further into it, because to me, I'm against that.
Yeah.
So if I could just add,
What Nick is saying is that this is all, if it really is financial, Nick, I'm sorry to tell you this, it's financial, and because
Not entirely.
I'm sorry?
Not entirely, but carry on. There is
No,
there is a
if
small benefit, but carry on.
if they're giving us a lower discount, but we're getting what we consider to be an environmental benefit, then it's all a question of how you want to take your benefit. So if you want your benefit in cash, you can take it in cash. If you want your benefit in benefit to the land, you can take it that way. And I personally, I come down on the side of taking it in the form of benefit to the land. So yeah, sure.
I don't know that the deal has to be the 8% versus the 10%. I think we would prefer to have the solar farm that we approve of and get the money for the town, right? To then use for a project that we also approve of.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Laura, you had something you'd like to say.
Yeah. When Nick does research, so the things I'm hoping that you ask about or look for is, one of them is, because one is everybody gets the credits, and it sounds like that's pretty similar across the board. Maybe you can get a benefit, maybe not. But then also, as you research different companies, do they all give the town $100 per subscriber? And then the other question is, what Solstice did say was they would help the town get the word out, just like he was talking about. Jewel writes the letters, the supervisors had to sign it. As we look at alternative companies that the town might want to work with, how proactive is that town at doing the work for the town, so that the town doesn't have to draft the letters themselves and print them up? Because that's what Solstice did say, is that they would do a lot of that work to get the word out. So when you're looking for companies to compare, compare how much they're going to help the town get the word out and make this happen, how much to the residents, what money do they give back to the town in addition to what the discount is that the people get.
Right. Yeah, good point. Thanks. Could we get a subcommittee that would be willing to work on this? David, are you willing? And
Sure.
Nick?
Yes.
Nick, how about you, Nick? Right?
Yeah, sure.
Bob?
Sure.
Could you three do some research and help us move this forward?
Sure.
Great.
Yep.
Great. Thank you very much. All right. I think we probably spent enough time on this. Do you agree? Okay. All right.
Yes.
All right. We're going to move on to the NRI.
Wait, I have one more thing. Sorry,
Yeah, sure.
for Laura. Do we want to make sure that the town is not going to make a decision on this until they have vetted like a responce that we want?
Well, that's what, Julie, you spoke to Bill. I mean, that's
I
why
did
this
speak
came
to
the
Bill.
WEC.
I can answer that question. Bill asked us to look at it as a commission, and I said this is going to take a while. He said, I understand, that's okay.
Okay, good.
All right, so moving on to the natural resources inventory. I heard from Ingrid today that we're finished up practically. So you guys, Aaron and Alex, thanks for putting in the images. That's great. Jim was kind enough to pay the bill for the designer, so that's done. And I think tomorrow, Ingrid said it, we'll get, just one second, we're gonna get the documents, and then they can be put up on our website, our webpage, the WEC webpage.
Cool.
In time for Jim to make his presentation to the town board on Tuesday, the 8th, at that town
Cool.
board meeting. So
Very cool.
go ahead, Erin.
Thanks. I just, in talking to Ingrid, she said, just an FYI here, they're going to actually get printed about 5 copies. And if the WEC, wanted to look into maybe printing more or something, that would be, she said she will share the printable files with us. Right. And if we wanted to do that somehow on our own.
Yeah, that's great. And so Jim has, I don't know if it's his own personal money or he's found someone who wants to put something in, but anyway, he's very kindly stepped forward to he wants some printed copies. So, that's good. Anything else on that? I think so. I mean, that's surprising. We're actually going to make that deadline. It's great.
That's kudos to everyone.
Yeah, it's been a slog. It's been a wonderful experience, but wow. Since I remember having the first discussions with Ingrid in December of last year. So it's, wow. Okay, moving on to Aaron, because not everybody was in on the communities climate smart communities meeting earlier. Do you want to just give us a quick update?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, the main focus, I think, of Climate Smart for next year is going to be partnering with the Resiliency Project, which is going to be taking a good look at the town and the climate resiliency. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, Climate Smart Resiliency Planning Tool.
Yeah, so that looks like a really big get for the commission, the WEC. So that's going to be the main focus, other than Ken beating me up on the meeting. That's all I remember from it, Julia.
Yeah, well, I can see the bruises, so.
I know.
Yeah, okay.
But
You had to be there, everyone. You had to be there. Okay, so thank you for that.
Not gonna, sorry, so we're not gonna pursue silver just yet. We're gonna use our bronze status to kind of move along. Sorry, that's it.
Okay, all right. So Nick, the educational brochure. You're here, we're listening.
And it seems like about 2 months ago we formed a subcommittee to go and look at this, and I have not had the chance to do very much about it other than that. So honestly, realistically, this is probably something that we need to pick up again in the new year. I'm be honest, my work's just gone crazy the last 2 months basically.
So
it's been
you
nuts.
and who else is on the subcommittee?
Alex and Dave.
Alex and Dave, okay. Okay. So in January, will you get together and?
Yeah, we'll definitely you will definitely start to make some progress on that.
Okay, sounds good. That's great.
Right. What I will say is because it's a hot topic right now, and I've got a great deal of interest in it, I will find the time to work on researching the community solar companies and what options we have there. So that'll actually happen.
It's become a bit of a catch-all, this brochure, for plastics, UCRA. We had Mary McNamara asking if we could include composting. So every time somebody comes forward with something they'd like the WEC to cover, we say, oh, great, well, that could go into the brochure, just so you know.
Yeah, I'm aware of it. The brochure is was pretty wide ranging in what it was covering really, and one of the first things that the committee was going to do was kind of drill in and try and focus on where we could make the best difference to start with, really, because you don't want your goal to be everything basically. Your goal is to be able to do a few high impact things first and take it forwards from there. So we're going to have to look at some of these programs and see what fits in and what's going to be high impacts, and we'll make a decision about that, or we'll make a recommendation and bring it to the meeting, of course.
Sounds good. Thank you. Okay, next is the annual the summary of actions for WEC for the year. Yeah, Erin. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I had one other thing about the NRI. I apologize. I forgot to mention when we got together to discuss the slotting the photos in there, Alex and Ingrid and I, we were looking at the introduction, and it seemed to start off somewhat with a narrow interpretation of Woodstock, seemingly suggesting
too
that
late for this discussion. I'm sorry, much too late. We're not going to be. Okay, sorry.
Oh, so yeah, so actually we did kind of come up with a really short paragraph that we wanted to add to it, and Ingrid thought it was actually appropriate, being that the NRI was supposed to be like kind of all encompassing of the natural resources.
Okay.
So I did want to bring that up. I apologize for
if she made the changes and it's done, that's great.
Okay, great. Okay.
I just didn't want to have a long discussion about it. We just
I meant to. I had some takeaway notes from our conversation with Ingrid that I meant to say at the meeting tonight. So that's all that was.
Okay, that's great. Thanks. Okay, so thank you everybody for your input for the David. First of all, thank you for putting together the list of actions. It looked like we were closing in on a final document, and then Erin, we heard from you, and I guess you had quite a few things you wanted to change. So maybe David and you, Erin, can work together and iron it out. I don't,
That's fine with me.
Okay.
Yeah, let me just jump in here. I think Erin has presented a very valid viewpoint of the way the summary of our actions should be done. It is not the same as the past, which doesn't make it good or bad. It's just different. So what I don't think it bears a lot of discussing tonight. I'm not beating the drum for that. What I'm saying is that I'd like all of you to take a look at it and see what you feel most comfortable with. We have another meeting in December, at which time we'll be able to do a final. So Erin and I can certainly talk about it, and I have no problem with that, but I think it really comes down to the members of the commission.
Okay. All right.
You're acting like you're the one with lobster waiting for you, Julia.
No, I'll explain in a minute what I'm, my issues. Okay, so
Erin, let's you and I talk, we'll just talk together.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And then Ken, you had sent us a memo today with some ideas for publicity, which were great ideas. They were very much tied to the town website. And so they are very valid ideas, and we can certainly work on those. We probably, as Alex pointed out, we need to go broader than that as well. And we perhaps can use our Facebook page more. And if people want to post to it, that would be great.
I wasn't.
No, I know. It was some good ideas, things we can do. And you're right. Yeah, those are all good suggestions. Yeah.
Yeah, and I take Alex's point about the town website basically, but speaking for myself, I did actually look up, find that website, and use it as a resource to try and work out what was going on in the town myself. So it's people do that. I'm sure they do what Alex was suggesting as well. But
right. Someone made a point about the minutes not being posted regularly. I know that we submit them, and I'm sure that they do get listed. I know Ashley works extremely hard on that, so among thousands of other things.
Julia, do you still have like a department head meeting? Do you go to with the town?
No, because of COVID, we stopped doing that just as COVID started. And then there was talk about having a virtual meeting. We were going to have one in November, and I don't know, it didn't happen. So no, we don't.
All right. So maybe Laura, since you're the liaison, maybe you could bring it back to should it go to Laura? No, or should we just reach out to Ashley? Because you're right. I mean, we've been sending her the minutes.
Well, Ashley's on. So I would ask Ashley, Ashley, if you wouldn't mind answering, what is the best way? Because I know every now and then, you probably get a million emails, and if minutes sit in an email, you maybe don't realize. And one time I know I sent Ashley an email, and I had posted 5 different minutes and then said, Ashley, please post these. So I don't know whether it's easiest for Ashley, if you send her a specific email with the subject line says, please post these minutes, or if you're expecting Ashley, or if Ashley does actually notice if minutes are hidden in an email, or maybe they're not hidden, but Ashley, I don't know if you would want to speak to what's the best way for you to know when it's time to post minutes.
The problem that we had at the beginning of the year was they were being sent to me prior to them being approved at a meeting, and then I would post them and it wasn't supposed to be posted yet. I don't know which ones are the finals. I get thousands of emails. So I would just need to know, it needs to be specified on it that it's the final okay to be posted.
So it's helpful for you then, just if I can reiterate what I think I'm hearing, it's helpful for you if either Julia or David, who's the
David is the one doing that.
Yeah. So it'd be helpful to you if David were to send you an email with the subject line saying final minutes for posting, then you wouldn't be confused about what you're supposed to do. So that would be a good way for it. So if David, what I might recommend is if you were to go online on the town website, see what minutes are and are not there for the WEC, and then send Ashley an email saying minutes for posting, and just give her all the emails that are missing, and then she'll know she needs to get them posted.
Okay, sure, that's easy.
Guys, sorry, I hope my email wasn't misinterpreted. I think that it's great to have all of these resources. I just don't know that everyone knows about them, which is why I think some other third thing that's more public, like if we wanted to look into having, doing an article or doing a post on something that would then direct people to knowing about them, and also get them on board with like some of the goals maybe that we have for the year or what we've accomplished in the past year. And then to say, to find out, here's here's where you can find all of these different things. Here's where the green guide is. Here's where this is. And that they then know, because I don't know that people necessarily know that. And I don't know if this is a wildly inappropriate thing, but do we want to start sending out emails? Like
E-blasts, you mean?
Like an email update every 3 months, or when we have a project, like, do we want to start collecting email addresses and having an email database of people who are interested in what the WEC is doing, and then sending out something, you know, occasionally, like, here's the green guide, here's how you compost,
Sure, so we would get a subscription to something like Constant Contact, or well, there are lots of free ones, so we would do that and just start sending out a newsletter is what you're suggesting. You're right, we have to gather together the contact list, and maybe you have people who come into your shop all the time who.
I mean, I think because I would assume because it's a town thing that it would have to be people who are agreeing to be on that list, as opposed to like me using the ones I have. But certainly I could, I mean, I'm happy to like ask, but it would be something, let's say if we wanted a little thing in Hudson Valley 1 to say, send us your email, or.
Sure. Yeah, and then that way we could send blasts to people when we have events, and we could say, you know,
come to Earth Day.
Earth Day.
Yeah.
But I think all we need right now is someone volunteering to run with that. And Alex, it sounds like you just did. So
I'll be the publicist of the WEC, guys.
All right, cool. And I forgot something, Julia. I'm so sorry. I'm looking down at my notes. I'm sorry to do this again for like the 4th time. On the list of, wait, did we talk about 2021 goals yet?
We're just about to. We're just about to. So thank you. That's a great segue. You're on your list.
There is one thing that I forgot to put on the list, which I was going to volunteer to do, which is kind of what we're talking about. The town website has what is the WEC and what do they do, and it's lovely, but it's dated. It talks about Mary and a lot of the things that she accomplished, which is great. But I was going to volunteer to update that and actually write who we are, what our mission is, etc. I thought that was in line with what we. Sorry,
on our webpage, you mean?
On the town website.
Yeah, but our web page on the town site. Yeah, right. Yeah, the WEC page. Yeah. Okay, sounds good.
All right, I'll send like a draft out and everyone can berate me. Okay, great. Oh, and then I sent the list of 2021 to make sure, like, could everyone look at it? I thought that was a group effort kind of. Thoughts?
Yeah, so the 2021 initiatives, right? Yeah. Yeah. So you were saying outreach to the community, education and events brochure, solar initiative, Earth Day, water fountains by the Chamber of Commerce. Is that something that Alex, you were proposing, or way back when, or have you guys?
Yeah, what was that?
Yeah, that was like, it was in January of 2020 when I became a member in the year of 2020.
Did that get in the summary for 2020?
Which didn't seem to make it.
It didn't make it.
Because even in the latest copy, I didn't see it. So Alex,
that's because she joined in 2019, and it was in the 2019
I joined
action.
in 2020.
Didn't have her meeting with the McKenna until 2020.
Yeah, my swearing in was in 2020.
Oh, because Alex you attended so many meetings there. I guess they assumed that you were a member even before you were.
Yeah, it's okay. No one cares what I'm doing.
So there's a difference between you showing up at a lot of meetings, which you did, which was great, versus being sworn in and being official.
Yeah.
Well, you should have objected to it in the minutes, the early minutes, when you weren't included as having joined the WEC.
I've never read the minutes, David.
Well, that's your problem. No, don't blame me for you not reading the minutes.
I attend the meetings and I have a spotless memory. Why do I?
Well, it's interesting you bring all this up, Alex, because we had a conversation by email, you and I, lately, and I have been the chair this year, but I have some projects coming up, and I really I cannot do it again next year. So I was asking if anyone could step forward, and Alex stepped forward. She was kind enough to do that. Yes. So
I mean, Julia, you've done a fabulous job. Don't take that the wrong way.
No, I don't.
But I know that your plate's full.
Yeah, it is. It is. So that's great. Yeah, we're very happy. So Alex was saying that she would take it on, but that she was hoping that, okay, that those of us who have been on for a little bit longer, I've been on for, I guess, 4 years now, and David's been on, I don't know, how many years, David?
I don't know. It's 40 years, I think,
40
something like
years,
that.
okay.
Quarantine.
Yeah, quarantine years, would help her out with some of the procedural, historical kinds of things. Is that correct, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, I know in your email at one point you had said something like, if I do it, I can only do the administrative stuff, which
That's not being the chair.
but I certainly know zero about it. So at least for a little while,
But I'm not going to, I mean, if you take on the chair, you'll be the chair. I'm not going to just do the admin stuff.
No, just if you, when I heard administrative stuff, I started being like, I don't know what any of that is. So some guidance.
Sure, of course.
From people would be
of course.
much appreciated.
I'll volunteer to share.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I'll volunteer to share any knowledge that I've gained over the years. I'll be more than happy to help you.
May I suggest that at some subsequent meeting quite soon, maybe the next one, we look at the idea of having Alex become the vice chair instead of Arlene. If she's going to take over as chair, what you're talking about taking over in this coming year, 21?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, no, there's no point in you being vice chair for a meeting.
Not even one meeting? It's okay.
No. Arlene, you're going to have the honor. So yeah, we'll all have to help. We'll help you, of course.
Yeah, but Julia, I would like to give a personal thank you to you because this has been such a smoothly run. It was always smoothly run when David did it as well. So, but I know just speaking for this year, Julia, many thanks from me because I think this has been a wonderful year for the WEC, and thank you, Julia, for all you've done to make that happen.
That's very kind. Thank you. But I think David did a great job. I think everyone who steps up does a good job. So, thank you.
Big shoes to fill, Alex.
I know they're probably cute shoes too, because Julia
they're stylish. Julia's very stylish. They'll be stylish.
Let's see, Julia. Can we see the shoes, Julia?
It's getting late, David.
Oh yeah, you
right.
don't really want to see it. You don't. It's okay.
Really late.
Oh wow. All right. So I was going to actually suggest that we not have a 16th meeting, December 16th meeting. But what do you think? You think we need one?
I'd like to pass by December 16th.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, I mean, David, can you, if all you want to do is finalize the summary report, if you could, like, maybe, would you be okay with reaching out to people individually just to wrap that up?
Well, no, I'd invite everyone to email me individually, and you and I'll talk individually if that's
right.
okay.
I think I've said all I want to say about that list, and so why don't you two have opinions about it? Please go at it.
Okay.
Yeah,
sure.
that'd be great. That would be great. One other thing we had on the agenda was the, Earth Day. You don't need to talk about Earth Day, do you? No. The Corollas subdivision. I didn't see anything in that we really needed to investigate. Or Rob, are you saying maybe?
It's not really environmentally related, but just for the hell of it, I Googled the owners.
Mm-hmm.
And the Corollas family is pretty solid. He did time. I mean, for fraud, tax fraud. So just for what's worth, I just had to put that.
I think we should keep an eye on it. I think with other things that have come up, we've said, okay, it looks fine, but I think we should keep an eye on it.
Agreed. Okay, let's do that. But we won't talk about it tonight, but we'll all keep an eye on it, right? We have the documents, right?
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, in short, basically, he took out a credit card in his father's name and ran up all these charges.
Yep. And there's several civil litigations against them, and it's bad. It's a long list.
Yeah, I just want to be clear, though, that we are not stating any opinion right now. We haven't made any decisions because this is something that's not before us right now. So let's not make any decisions right now that we don't need to.
Right.
Okay.
Right, but we will definitely keep an eye on it. Yeah.
There was some discussion about whether this was just a subdivision or whether there was actual plans to actually build on the wetlands there. Really, I mean, which way did that end up?
Right now, according to the paperwork they've submitted, it looks fine. But knowing historically that this is a family that doesn't follow the rules, so far what's on paper looks okay. But
yeah, I seem to remember I looked into a little bit, and it looked like there was a little bit more than just a subdivision, basically, because they were planning wells and septics and that kind of thing, and it looked like there was a lot of prep work for building. So, and like I say, I'm not saying we shouldn't keep an eye on it. Basically, I'm just kind of agreeing big time. There seems to be some things to keep an eye on there.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
So we're agreed that we're going to have a wonderful holiday season. And we're going to meet again on the 6th of January, at which time we'll have a new chair, which is extremely exciting. And Alex, if you don't feel comfortable for that meeting and you don't feel like you know what's up, just let me know, I guess, or I guess.
I'm sure I'm going to give you a call.
Okay. All right. Very good.
A sweet, kind one.
Okay. Well, everyone have a happy, right?
Everybody.
Yes, indeed. Happy holidays.
Be safe. Be safe, everybody.
Be safe.
Meeting at 8:30.
And thank you all, by the way. Thank you all very much for all of everybody's year for the WEC. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Laura. Thank you very much for all of everything you've done for us and all of your liaising.
Yeah, there you go. Well, thanks. It was a good year for the WEC, so thank you to everybody.
Thank you. Okay.
Thanks, everyone. Enjoy your food. Enjoy your holiday.
Enjoy your lobster, David. Have a
That's
good
right. Enjoy that lobster.
Thanks. Yes, I will go enjoy my lobster and my white burgundy now.
Yay.
Speaking of which, yeah, okay. I'm leaving the meeting.
Okay.
Bye all.
Thank you, Ashley.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you, Ashley.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
You too.